But if you are a registered voter in the United States, you have the opportunity to cast your ballot. Early voting has already begun in some states leading up to Election Day on November 5th. With candidates who may not fulfill the criteria many Catholics pray for, how does a Catholic voter make decisions that align with their faith and conscience? In the next few minutes, we hope to bring you some enlightenment on that. Our EWTN News Election 2024 coverage begins with reporter Mark Irons.
Every election season, you'll hear all kinds of campaign ads and slogans, except perhaps this one.
We really need to call on the Holy Spirit for guidance.
Republican and Democratic candidates hope to sway voters to their side. But at the Maryland Catholic Conference, Executive Director Ginny Kraska has another hope for Catholic voters.
And really reflect on how does their faith inform who they're going to vote for, what they're going to vote for.
Every 4 years, Americans decide who will occupy the White House. The candidates make their pitch to voters. But for Catholics, listening to the wisdom of the church is even more important, so that when they cast their vote, it will be informed by truth.
Truth is not something I create. It's something I should receive. It's something outside of me.
Archbishop Thomas Winsky of Miami and all his brother bishops in communion with the Pope are successors to the apostles, those first followers who received teachings from Christ.
We believe that truth has a name, and that truth is a person, namely Jesus Christ, who said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life."
So if the church campaigns during election season, it's to remind voters of Christ-centered values. It's not the role of bishops across America or the people who work with them, like Ginny Kraska, to tell you who to vote for, but they will share this. In the Catholic tradition, responsible citizenship is a virtue, and participation in political life is a moral obligation. It's a quote from a teaching document put out by the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops called Forming Consciences for Faithful Citizenship. Archbishop Winsky was part of the committee that helped form the document almost 2 decades ago. It includes Catholic doctrine expressed by popes and the Church Catechism and serves as a guide that can help American voters. The introduction states the document isn't about the ever-changing news cycle, but instead reflects the perennial role of the Church in public life in proclaiming timeless principles. Those principles make up Catholic social teaching. The bishops write, at the center of these truths is respect for the dignity of every person. This is the core of Catholic moral and social teaching.
We should be looking for the common good and not for personal self-interest.
Especially as it relates to the most vulnerable in our societies.
The virtuous subordination of my own passions to the good of the community.
Kenneth Craycraft is a professor of moral theology at Mount St. Mary's Seminary in Cincinnati. With theological reflections in his book, Citizens Yet Strangers, Living Authentically Catholic in a Divided America, Craycraft explains how Catholicism transcends partisan politics. He told us our civic lives shouldn't be reduced to political engagement, but as Catholics, we should consider what a vote represents.
It's also a witness of where we are in our own moral lives, and it's a witness to our own moral judgment, and ultimately, of course, it's a witness to the gospel.
Craycraft says the U.S. bishops provide important and helpful insights in forming consciences for faithful citizenship. They write, every human being has a right to life, the fundamental right that makes all other rights possible, and a right to access those things required for human decency, food and shelter, education and employment. The family is described as the first and fundamental unit of society, based on marriage between a man and a woman, and it should be defended and strengthened, not redefined, undermined, or further distorted. On religious liberty, the bishops write, in a fundamental way, the right to free expression of religious beliefs protects all other rights. The bishops hope Catholics will examine church principles alongside political candidates and their party platforms.
We do have to look at, the platforms and see how they measure up to what we believe as people of faith and what really advances the common good.
And in 2024, there are some major threats to the common good and human dignity. The bishops write, the threat of abortion remains our preeminent priority because it directly attacks our most vulnerable and voiceless brothers and sisters and destroys more than 1 million lives per year in our country alone.
Abortion is not a right, it's a wrong. It's a huge wrong.
And one, the bishops add, which some political actors mischaracterize as an issue of women's health. The bishops mention other grave threats to life and dignity, including euthanasia, gun violence, terrorism, the death penalty, and human trafficking, along with human cloning, in vitro fertilization, and the destruction of human embryos for research. They also share concerns about the redefinition of gender, lack of justice for the poor, the suffering of migrants and refugees, wars and famine around the world, racism, the need for greater access to health care, and care for our common home. At the state level, Catholic conferences, which can be found in most states, including the one we visited in Maryland, try to make sure all politicians on both sides of the aisle are aware of the concerns of the Church.
So here at the Maryland Catholic Conference, you're advocating for all kinds of issues. The Catholic Church is not just focused on issues that one party represents. Is that right?
That's correct. I think that makes us unique in a lot of ways, especially as a religious group. There are not very, if any, other groups that are seen as working across the aisle.
The bishops talk about abortion as the preeminent issue. How should Catholic voters understand that?
Issues that affect life need to take the forefront in how we think about voting. The foundational purpose of life. Without that, without the sanctity of life, we don't have some of these other issues. We can't talk about them fully. That's what I think they want us to understand.
Abortion is never morally acceptable and must always be opposed. The Church teaching is definitive. Craycraft says Catholics must also be attentive to those areas of prudential judgment. For example, immigration policy can be debated, but Catholics can't ignore the principles of Church teaching when they consider the issue.
Policy provisions that are open to prudential judgment, in some ways that makes it more incumbent upon us to think harder about those issues so that we are in conformity with the doctrine of the Church in terms of welcoming the immigrant and the stranger and so forth. As an example,
the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops website notes that a rich body of Church teaching has consistently reinforced our moral obligation to treat the stranger as we would treat Christ himself. Archbishop Winsky told us Catholics might notice the social teachings of the Church don't seem to fit in a partisan political box.
Oftentimes, as Catholics, we might feel politically homeless in either party because neither party really embraces the full gamut of Catholic social teachings.
As Catholics consider all their options, Craycraft says each person must pray and discern.
We can't vote for evil. We have to vote for good, even if it's the lesser good. And therefore, we might make a judgment that one candidate who is the lesser good is the better candidate of the major party candidates, or we might make a judgment that the only good vote that we can cast is for a third party candidate, a write-in candidate.
And whether it's voting or any other decision, the Church calls each person to be guided by a well-formed conscience. The bishops write, Catholics must also understand that if they fail to form their consciences in the light of the truths of the faith and the moral teachings of the Church, they can make erroneous judgments.
We have to form our consciences rightly, and for that we look to the teachings of the Church, to the magisterium.
Mark Irons, EWTN News in Depth.